most of the time we were trying to solve your problems. And you know what? We still are. Not mine or James or Maddie's, yours. You're dead, Laura, but your problems keep hanging around. It's almost like they didn't bury you deep enough.
Welcome to the Rewatchers in the Lodge. We are here with some more Twin Peaks. We watched more of it. We didn't stop. We just keep going. I am Tyler Harris with
Marcus Marinos,
Riley Harris,
Tyler McKinley,
Mitchell Marshall,
and
Justin Hammer.
And we also have a very special guest this week, a Twin Peaks expert. She shook her head at the affirmative.
Callie Carlson.
Thanks, Callie. I'm excited to have you on here.
Do we have a special guest sound effects?
Yeah, it's this.
I'm just going to put your Home Depot butt story in right here.
It's just a layer for the next 2 minutes.
It was you.
Great. Well, we watched, so last week I said we were watching 3 episodes. We are actually watching 4 episodes. So if you haven't watched episode 6 yet, go do that immediately, right now. So we watched episode 3, which originally aired on October 13th, 1990, written by Robert Engels, directed by Leslie Linklater. Episode 4 originally aired October 20th, 1990, written by Jerry Stahl, Mark Frost, Harley Payton, Robert Engels, and directed by Todd Holland. That's a lot of writers.
Cooks in the kitchen.
Episode 5, which aired October 27, 1990, written by Barry Pullman and directed by Graham Clifford. Both names we have not seen yet, so that's interesting. And then episode 6, which aired November 3rd, 1990, written by Harley Payton and Robert Engels, directed by Leslie Linklater. And here to tell us everything that happened. I guess if you haven't watched episode 6, just listen closer, because Mitchell's about to tell you everything that happened in those 4 episodes. Ready, and go.
Rhonda is having a panic attack seizure. Cooper confesses he's seen a giant. Donna meets creepy, surprisingly young botanist Harold Smith. Albert confesses his love to the sheriff. Dick, the baby daddy, picks up Lucy. He's truly a dick. Leland tells law enforcement he recognizes Bob. James confides in Maddie. Donna gets jelly. Blackie is filming Audrey all tied up. One-armed Gerard tells Sheriff Shoes and then panics seeing Bob drawing. He then turns from Gollum into Schmeagol in the toilet. Shelley won't snitch on Leo. Jacques' classy brother creeps on sleeping beauty Audrey. Cooper finds one-armed man's syringe and the giant's third clue. Ed sinks to the dark phoenix coma, clapping super strength cheerleader Nadine. Woo! Jacoby gets hypnotized in his now tropical hospital room. Donna vents to Laura's grave and then catches Maddie and James again. Traffic light. Leland comforts Maddie. Sheriff and Cooper are standing there. They arrest Leland for suffocating Jacques. Harold comforts Donna. She finds Laura's diary there. Diary number 1. Leland admits to killing Jacques. Andy talks to Doc about his sperm, and Lucy finds his flesh-rolled copy. Jacques Bro brings the blackmail tape of Audrey to Ben Horn for ransom. They want Cash and Cooper. Norma and Hank want to impress a fancy food critic. Harold reads Laura's diary to Donna. Josie's back. Audrey is drugged and sees Jacques Bro shoot the store manager. Lucy vents to Coop about Andy Dick. Coop needs a bookhouse boy for a mysterious mission. Donna recruits Maddie to steal Laura's diary. Sheriff asks Sheriff asks someone if they're a lying murderer.
Josie.
Sheriff asks Josie if she's a liar/murderer. Then she starts to get horny. They start to coitus, and a Chinese guy is watching them from right outside of the window. Judge Sternwood arrives. Dick tries to pay Lucy to get rid of the baby, but she aborts him instead. The judge briefs Leland, and Hot Sid, the clerk, arrives. The Tri-County Lumber Pageant is underway. Never comes up again. At the Great Northern, Ben Horn greets Asian Gene Simmons with a bow. He checks in, cash only. At the Double R, the lights go out, and Hank gets his trash kicked by some mysterious man. Cooper goes inside. Cooper goes upside down and finally finds Audrey's letter. Hawk has to pee. Lucy goes to Tacoma. Shelley is getting the house ready for unconscious Leo. Leland gets to stay free in town until his trial. Donna gets ready to, Donna tries to exchange the diary to Harold for her soul. Donna double crosses him and tries to steal the diary, but then turns out Harold's a vampire and she pities him. Judge rules Leo can't stand trial and can go home. Nadine has reverted to her high school self, but with super strength. Ben Horn is wheeling and dealing and kind of trying to get his daughter back. Andy's sperm is back in action. Donna recounts a wild night with Laura and some older boys to Harold. Coop and Sheriff break into One-Eye Jack's. Harold kisses Donna. Cooper finds Audrey and stops Blackie's sister from stabbing him. Sheriff sees Jacques' brother stab Blackie. Hawk saves all of their asses. Hank saw the whole thing and reports back to Ben Horn on a cell phone, but then he gets caught by Jacques' older brother, whose name I still don't know. Harold catches Maddie trying to steal the diary and cuts himself. James rescues the girls, but they didn't get the diary. Audrey almost OD'd on heroin. James shows Donna for now. Jacques' brother's name is Jean. He's bad. Bobby and Shelley aren't getting as much insurance cash as they had hoped. Donna tells Sheriff about the diary. Cooper's boss has some information from Albert. Hawk has the one-armed man. Josie is being forced to leave. Maddie bows out of the James race. She's moving home. Ben Horn doesn't have Josie's money, or maybe he does, but he does have blackmail. But wait, she has blackmail too and is getting the money. Shelley and Bobby throw a streamer-heavy party for Leo, who might just be more than a vegetable. Coop's boss is deaf and concerned for his safety. Leland is back at work and sharp as a tack. Sheriff shows up as Josie abandons ship. He confesses his love and she breaks his heart. I was wrong about Leland. He's singing again. One-armed man is possessed by an inhabiting spirit named Mike. He knows Bob, also a parasitic Dementor being. He is at the Great Northern in some way, somehow, and he also rambles on about many other things in this final scene that I just don't understand.
Well done.
That was a lot of info.
I'm sweating.
just another Wednesday and Thursday Twin Peaks. This is what happens, you know?
all really
Nothing
happening?
out of
Which
the
we did learn in
ordinary.
these episodes that it's only been 12 days.
Oh yeah,
since we
Yes.
were
definitely
right,
caught me off
which
guard.
was a lot shorter than I thought.
Yeah.
Made me believe that I can't remember her fucking name anytime. The cousin.
Maddie.
Maddie.
Would still be there,
Yes,
right?
yes. Because I was like,
Yeah.
man, does she have school? What is her deal? So
But then you think it's probably been like 5 days. She's been there for like
yeah,
5-6
probably
days.
something like
Yeah,
that.
like coming in for a week for a funeral makes sense. I thought she'd been there for she was like, I'm just gonna stay.
It was like a month. Yeah.
It's true. Yeah, and I feel like the school's been absent this entire time, and it makes me less like they probably can still get caught up. It's high school, you know. It's not like they go over anything important. So
It's not like I ever went.
that's very true. We should talk about this sometime. So yeah, let's just start going into some stuff. Let's maybe start with some of the goings on about town. We get introduced to a lot of goofier plot lines. Let's start with my favorite that we can knock out really quick is good old MT Wentz. Is introduced to the town of Twin Peaks, the mysterious reviewing stranger that comes and pays only in cash and no one knows who they are. I will say this is the closest I feel like Twin Peaks gets to just like a sitcom of the same era, where it's like the Great Northern, people are like, MT Wentz is coming, and they're like, here's all this stuff about MT Wentz, and then you cut to the double R and they're like, MT Wentz is coming, holy shit. Like, it's just this weird convergence of stuff, and it's really bizarre, and I'm not sure I love it, but man, MT Wentz is here with a vengeance. Their presence is felt even though we have no idea who they are. But yeah, any thoughts on the faceless MT Wentz?
I totally forgot that was even a thing. So if it pays off, I'll be happy.
Well, we'll see.
Are they still in, like, they were suspect of
Tachimura?
yeah.
Yeah.
Who is I mean, does anyone not think it's Catherine?
Oh boy. Yeah.
Wait, what?
Apparently, Mitchell.
That's not a real person.
Tachimura?
Obviously,
Are you
This is real? This is
Definitely not a real person.
Guys,
I'm taking a lot of notes.
Racist performance.
it is extremely
So
like,
uncomfortable.
oh
It is so
my
over
god.
the top
Did
that I was like,
Did I
but at least I
mishear
thought it
a
was a real
line
Asian.
from the last episode?
No.
Where she's like, I know something about people being fired. My family was at Nagasaki.
Yeah, no, you didn't mishear that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That, I was punch drunk for a second when I heard that. And then Leland got up and started singing, and I, forgot about it.
Yeah. You're like, thank you, Leland, for saving my life. Yeah, it is.
Oh, goodness.
There are some aspects of this show that do not age well. I don't think any of them age as poorly as that.
No, I'm a big fan.
It's
Well, clearly
There was
it worked.
She's trying to fool people, okay? She's not trying to be politically correct.
There was a moment though where I was like, is that mustache falling off?
yeah. There's
Mustache, the nose was falling off.
yeah, the entire face. And, I just remember seeing that, and I'm like, the first time I saw that, I felt bad because my first thought was like, I've never seen another human being that looks like that, and if I did, I'd be alarmed. And no one's alarmed, which is weird to me. But it is, yeah, it's bad. It's not good. But yeah, running. Dude,
I
still
mean,
top of the heat for NT wins, possibly.
because I'm pretty sure it's Catherine, and it's like I'm trying to think. I'm waiting for this reveal because Catherine, I want to know who's her makeup artist. Where is she getting this stuff? Does she know any spies? Like, what is going on in Catherine's life? How is this happening?
Now, would you be incredibly alarmed if I told you she applied that herself every morning? That there's no other set of hands to aid in that.
Yeah, I guess I'm just wondering where she got them prosthetics from.
She might have gone to the local high school theater department.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if, man, I'm so bad at names. Shut-in dude with the rake face has,
Old rake
Harold.
face.
yeah. If Harold had just Japanese prosthetics hanging about his house,
Yeah, so
Or he grew them.
that's. I'm glad we got that out of the way. That's
Good
all
to know
very
I am
fun.
not paying attention.
Then the next thing, I guess, let's get a little update on Lucy's love life here.
Lucy?
Yeah, yeah. Lucy.
Lucy Goosey?
No. We're introduced to. Does anyone like Dick Tremaine here? I just
love
want
him.
to take a.
when he got introduced, I'm like, I don't know. The show is introducing gods of characters, you know? You've got, like... And you got Cooper, who's, like, so... I don't know. Everyone's just, like, so, like, one note, but in the grandest way.
The most aggressive
Yeah.
choices. Yeah. And that's like, yeah, I love Dick. Yeah, I'll say it. I love Dick. All right. But I love him as a character.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I love him as a character. I'm in the show. I'm like, here, as soon as he came on screen and he started talking in a British accent, I'm like, here we go. But like as a person, he's awful,
store.
right?
Well, it's the craziest. So that actor is Scottish, and he's doing like not even. It's like a Cary Grant impersonation or something. Like it is so. What is that? I'm trying to think of what that accent's called.
It's like old time Hollywood.
It's like
a very
Affected
formal-
British
yeah.
accent.
Like I know it's like the Atlantic something. I don't know, but it's awful, and it's. I don't know. He's 100% there. Like he's fully committed to it, so it's fun to watch. Even if I do want to just strangle Dick Tremaine and just leave him out in the rain.
Something I think I mentioned to you was in the scene before Dick was introduced. Albert reveals the fact that Cooper was shot with 007's gun
Yes.
or whatever
James
that.
Bond.
Yeah, the Walther
yeah.
PPK.
Yeah.
And then this British guy comes in. I'm like, oh, come on. But now that we've seen a few episodes, I think like that's probably just to throw us off because I don't think Dick shot Cooper.
Right. I don't think Dick can afford a Walther PPK.
No, if it was hard for him to scrounge up $650.
Yeah. Which let's talk about this. So we've basically revealed so Lucy is pregnant. Pretty much everyone knows Lucy is pregnant now, I think. Oh my gosh, why did I just forget his name? Andy went to the, I'll say in his parlance, the sperms doctor, and found out that he was possibly infertile or whatever, which then confirms to Lucy that Dick Tremaine is the father of her child, which I can't imagine a greater horror. But their scene at the Double R just makes me want to die. Like poor Lucy. Like I will say, we've talked about kind of Lucy and Andy's thing over the first season. Like they really don't go into any detail. They're just fighting for these reasons they don't really reveal. Lucy in these episodes has some of my favorite moments. And one of them is when they're at the Double R and he talks about how he had promised to get her a dress and she's like, well, maybe you can get me a maternity dress. It's like the most perfect. Like I'm just so glad that they gave Lucy these like slow, just like home run lines to really get into. And then Dick Tremaine comes and gives her money to take care of the problem, which is what a nightmare this man is.
So messed up.
But yeah, and then her monologue of her just walking him through step by step everything that he can do is very good. And I really love that. But yeah, any thoughts on that? Like, where are you guys at with Andy and Lucy? probably the closest of our loving couples to being something, I guess. Ed and Norma, I feel like, have moved further and further away the last few episodes, but
I can't wait to talk about Nadine. But yeah, Lucy, I think she's the character that lasts the longest, and it's fun what they've been able to do with her without inundating us with her voice, and it's much more fun to be with her now. You've found her endearing. She's just so good at buying donuts, and it's nice to see her tell him to F off.
Yeah, yeah, very good. And then I guess the other part of that, let's talk about Andy's sperms.
Okay. All right. Wait.
Talking about dick, talking about sperms. Let's do it.
Okay. I just have some things to say about Andy,
Yes.
whom I also love very much.
Yes. How could you not?
No, come on. We know from the start that Andy is not firing on all cylinders from the start of the show.
Fair
Multiple ends.
Hey!
That is a low blow. That is a low blow.
Yeah, wow. Too many.
But then comes the scene where he gets hit by the plank and he stumbles around for a full 6 minutes. And then there's the scene where he's trying to put up the wanted posters and he's covered in tape. He's covered, like the tape on his face, on his hands. And then he's doing Lucy's job and he has sticky notes like on his chest, and
Yes.
it just makes me love him more.
He's so lovable.
He really is.
That's why him and Lucy go together, because they're both kind of like these silly side characters, and I'm just sad she broke his heart a little
I
bit.
thought there was going to be like a controversial opinion at the end of that, because the way you started was like, all right, look here.
I will say, one of the best scenes in these episodes is him talking on the phone with his sperm doctor, and you can just hear the woman on the other end just enough to pick out what she's saying, and she is the most patient, long-suffering receptionist at a doctor's office I've ever seen. That took me right out of it, because I was I've never talked to a receptionist at a doctor's office that was polite. And just her explaining the analogy of her recounting what Dr. Hayward presumably said about sperms, of it's no longer 3 men on a fishing trip, it's a whole damn town. And then we just have Andy whole damn town Brennan just shouting,
Pumped.
yeah, I'm a whole damn town. I'm a whole damn town. It's worthy of a text notification, I feel like. If you're looking to spice up your life, put that as a notification on your phone of just Andy letting you know he's a whole damn town.
I'm going to put that in my Tinder bio.
I'm a whole damn town.
I would. I'd follow Andy's Twitter.
Yeah. He's got just the right amount of insights. And then I guess the last thing that we're left with at this point is Andy finds out that Lucy might be getting an abortion. It's kind of hinted at because he calls. I'm trying to remember whose number is left there.
Isn't it his sister? Her sister.
Yeah,
twins?
that's right. Yeah. So yeah,
Tacoma?
it's labeled with her sister's name, but it's actually an abortion clinic. And
Weren't there 2 phone numbers on that paper though? I can't remember.
Yeah, there were.
Yeah.
oh, there might have been.
But
Yeah,
was it
I
the
kinda missed that.
brother-in-law?
It was
Well,
like
yeah.
a name,
Husband?
number, I think, if I
Yeah.
remember right.
Yeah. Did anyone else catch what the other name was? I don't know.
I didn't.
I kind of missed that,
Yeah,
but
I
Whatever
thought they
she
both just said the brother or sister or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I honestly thought Andy was just wading through the sticky notes and he's like, here's a fun number to call. That wouldn't have surprised me.
yeah. So and we know that she's gone out of town, but we haven't. Yeah, so we're not sure kind of the fate of that. But
Probably safe to say that the sticky note he wrote about his sperm on is going to get lost in all those sticky notes, and someone is going to find it.
right. Well, I mean, presumably some of his sperm is in the corner of the sheriff department, which
Spread your seeds far and wide, my son.
Yeah, that is all. I mean, they really had to be pushing the boundaries of what a network TV, what they would let them put on there. But yeah, anyways, so that's all great. I really enjoy all that stuff. I really like Andy and Lucy. So let's talk about a couple of the other small plots. Mitchell, give us an update on your girl, inventor and now strongman
Nadine, who I didn't even know her name until like 5 or 6 episodes into this show. I called her the pirate lady, and now she is breaking out of 3 pairs of leather restraints. And this time she was shopping and so excited she could use a card. She thinks she's a teenager, which you don't really know if she's going to stay in that mode. But in the hospital, she kind of looks at Ed and she's like all excited about the dance or something coming up. Oh, cheerleader tryouts because she's a senior. And then they're back home and she's still obviously a teenager. She accidentally breaks the fridge. She's just, or is it a fridge? Or she's carrying a piece of something.
Like a 50s ass looking fridge. Like that's a real fridge.
Yeah,
I mean,
those can stop atomic bombs in Indiana Jones.
Yeah. It just came right off. And then she like jumps on him like a creepy spider. And Ed doesn't even have lines in these because he doesn't need them. And she's just like, we can do anything we want. And it starts getting suggestive. And then she goes, we could go necking. And then she's like, oh, we could do it right here.
Yeah, the only lines Ed has is like, oh.
I feel like in the script it's just like Ed's eyes open very wide.
This isn't, but weirdly enough, we did see some evidence of superhuman strength from her.
Yeah.
Which is really odd that it wasn't like brought on by this weird mental issue.
What do they say? It's like the adrenaline pumping through her body.
I was talking to Riley about this. Like, it's literally, you're using like the anecdotal story of the woman who's able to lift a bus off her child and basically being like, yeah, I guess that's just adrenaline. So if your body just made mountains of adrenaline, you would be super strong all the time. It's like, cool. I'm actually kind of into it.
And I think one of the scenes she does something, and the way her body moves, they like cut it so it looks like she's doing something super fast or super strong. And I was just like, what?
Oh, I thought like my TV was wigging out at that part. I was like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah,
Okay.
I will say I love, because like the last few times we've seen her, like we have that scene of her like setting out getting ready to commit suicide and Ed finding her, and it's been so like sad and dark, and then this is like such a flip of what you've been feeling. Like it's so bizarre and it works. Like I'm into it. It's so I'm amazed at how easy that they flip that switch, because even that scene like starts out and Ed's like, well, I'm gonna sing to you, I don't know what you want to hear, and then he sings like he's got a pretty good voice, and then
That was a great scene.
yeah, and then just insanity. Like you're not really prepared for what's going to happen, because you've seen Ronette freaking out over the last couple episodes. Like, what if she's like seeing something and then no, she just thinks she's 18 again. And they give her the line, which I love, of her being like, "You're only 18 once." so good. I just love all that. So
What I think is funny is she sees James at one point. She's like, who is this? Oh, like he goes to our school because he's a high schooler. But then I thought like, okay, wait, Ed is a 40-year-old man. Like, do you not see that he's not a high schooler anymore? I'm confused.
I didn't even think about that. But yes.
Poor Ed, just taken out of the equation. I'd like to make a quick pop culture connection. I believe that adrenaline stuff is also what powers Kim Possible's arch nemesis, Adrenalin.
Very good.
I'm hoping they got that from Twin
Nice.
Peaks.
God.
There's your
Well, I mean, we know Disney Channel is connected to them already. through
Justin
Halloween
put it
Town,
on the shared
so-
universe list.
Yeah, we're building this out. We're going to find all the answers. Great. Anything else? I guess let's talk about Bobby and Shelley really quick, because
Oh gosh.
good Gandhi.
Wow.
At least their
Are we-
craziness like connects to the main plot, but man, it is. They spent way too much money at Party City.
Yeah, especially when they're only getting
Exactly.
$700
They're
a
like,
month.
we're not getting enough money. Here's all this stuff we bought just to rub it into someone who can't comprehend.
Oh man, yeah.
That was one
It's
of my
just so
favorite
creepy.
scenes out of all
Such
the
a great
episodes.
scene.
I feel like there's
So weird.
honestly, as I was thinking about it after I watched it, I'm like, this scene has like one of the most like you can dig the deepest into this scene out of a lot of the scenes in this show. To be honest, like it's very like quirky and wild.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can really get into like some deep character psychological things with
Mm-hmm.
all three of these characters just from this scene, which is really interesting and really fun to do.
Yeah.
Because they've become. Yeah, I wasn't expecting. I mean, once again, the Dick scenario of I really like Bobby as a character. Obviously, shitty human being, like possibly the shittiest.
He's done a lot of stuff. Like, if you list out the things he's done, he's like pretty high on the list of like people who've committed heinous crimes in Twin Peaks. So yeah,
but yeah, just them throwing a party for a vegetable and just like even just the gratuitous part of them lying down, making out in front of him on the table is like, oh, this is tasteless. But then you like get into their heads and be like, both these people have a lot of damage from this man that they are now like kind of using each other and him to kind of get out all at once here. And it's less about their sexual desire towards each other and more about just this pent up hatred that is their only way they can get it out.
Yeah.
And I don't know about everyone else, but like in those scenes, I'm like on edge the entire time because you think fucking Leo is just gonna like revert back to normal any second and just like kill
Every
these
time they
two.
got close to him, I was like, don't.
Yeah.
Because they were like, going to start getting frisky right there. And I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. My guy's like, going to become aware and do something crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, this being very a soap opera, it's like one of soap opera's favorite tropes that comas are their favorite.
Yep.
And they've had a couple so far, and this is kind of like a coma. And I don't know what's everyone's take on. I mean, I assume he's either doing a really good job at faking or is somehow going to snap out of this at some point. Thoughts on that? Does anyone think something differently? Does anyone
I think in court they even were they talking about Leo when they showed like a scan of his brainwaves and they're like, there's nothing there.
But he did say these are ones I've drawn that are supposed to be normal.
These
are what Leo's are. That could have been Leo's beforehand. He wasn't the smartest guy, they've said.
Maybe,
You've got no baseline.
So I don't know if he's faking it, but if he's still there as a character, like there's gonna be something there with him.
Go ahead.
I'm thinking, well, I guess this jumps to like the end of the episode, but it's a theory that, I mean, there's obviously like parasites. I think that he could be like taken over by a parasite at some point, and that would be terrifying.
Like become a host. That's a good theory.
That's a great
I like
theory.
that a lot.
Oh man,
There goes Riley again with her awesome connections that I would have never put together.
Well, yeah, and I think that's a great idea. I
think you've seen this show before. after episode where like aliens are involved somehow, I know it.
You write about the letter.
I just know things.
She's really smart.
I'm a parasite.
She's the tyranny.
She knows.
I am one. So yeah, lots of unanswered stuff, and I'm excited to see where that goes. Let's kind of talk about the bigger things really quick. We can kind of talk about where the mill plot. The mill plot is returning to its favorite ground of just chaos. There's a lot of threads still kind of with the mill plot. We talked about how they kind of cleaned those up at the beginning of the season, and then they're like, we just did that so we could basically tie a bunch of other weird stuff into it again. And that involves Tajimura, who we've talked about briefly. But let's really talk about kind of the two big threads over these episodes are there's a lot more Laura Palmer stuff tied into Laura Palmer and the stuff at One-Eyed Jack's. These episodes I think are interesting because Cooper actually isn't involved as much in the Laura Palmer stuff. Like a lot of that stuff we're getting from Hawk, we get from Albert, and then the Mystery Gang, our three favorite teens. Particularly Donna, doing a lot of legwork on that front and kind of finding stuff out, while Cooper is involved in the whole One-Eyed Jack's thing and all of that. So let's talk about One-Eyed Jack's real quick and just kind of how that shakes out.
There's so many sides to this.
Right? Yeah, there's a lot of people involved. And there's more people than we thought were involved initially also, which is another thing Twin Peaks loves to do, is introducing kind of these simple things and then being like, but there's like 7 different angles to it. So we kind of talked about last week. So Blackie and Emery, is Emery the name of the perfume counter guy?
Yeah.
the man who loves the vacuum and being tied up.
Ice.
Just the weirdest. I don't know. Cool. Whatever. They are getting Audrey addicted to heroin, which is what Ben Horn did to Blackie, presumably at some point. And then we have the most dangerous Renault brother show up. The third evolution of the Renault brother, if you will. When one falls, another rises. Jean Renault, who has, yet again, the third different accent we've heard.
I was hoping you would bring that up.
Yeah. We talked about this with Bernard. I haven't met very many French Canadians. That
It's
didn't
not.
sound anything like that. But
Nope.
okay,
No.
good. So yeah, what do you guys think of Jean Renault?
So how is he involved in One-Eyed Jacks? He seems to, because Ben Horn owns it, even though at his own place his daughter is currently being ransomed to him, and he kind of seems to care, but kind of doesn't seem to care and wants to use it to get rid of Cooper. But I don't know if Jean Renault, is he like a stakeholder? Is he just a regular?
So I think the big thing, so the Renault brothers are all involved in the cocaine trade. I think the reason he's interested in Cooper is because he's part of the FBI, who would presumably cover that. And we know that he is hanging out with Blackie's sister, who he brings to One-Eyed Jack. So I think presumably he's looking at this as possibly being a hostile takeover of One-Eyed Jacks in some way, or like some kind of partnership. He wants to be the new Ben Horn to Blackie, essentially, is kind of how I read it. I don't know if you have any other
Yeah, no,
insights.
that's what I got.
He's
too.
obviously
Yeah.
not met Jerry, because that would be the Horn brother I'd want to be. He's absent. There's a few characters. No Log
man.
Lady. Sorry, go back to One-Eyed Jacks. I just noticed. The Log
Yeah,
Lady
no,
was
you're
in
right.
these.
You're right. We do miss out on
Damn.
some awesome characters. But yeah, so when they kind of get this whole plot where they're gonna get Ben Horn, they're gonna get all this money from Ben Horn, but they're gonna have Dale Cooper, because that's John's idea to have Dale Cooper deliver it, right? He
Yeah,
tells
he
tells
calls.
Ben,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
and then they're gonna kill him. They're gonna get all this money and then take over One-Eyed Jacks, presumably. And do they hint at just killing Audrey too? Is
Yeah.
that
No, yeah, they
that's
say-
the
They're gonna
implication,
overdose.
right?
Sorry,
Yeah.
Yeah. Just messed up. Some messed up shit going on in One-Eyed Jacks.
Can I go back real quick
Yes,
to
please.
the adorable outfit combo of Jean Renault and his girlfriend and the Western motif?
Yeah, I was going to say,
What's going on there?
a French Canadian resident who dresses like a Texan.
What is it? It's so weird.
It really is. It's funny because I was reading some stuff. So I've been reading Reflections, which is like an oral history of Twin Peaks that Brad Dukes wrote. Everyone should read it. It's really good. But they talk about that actor coming in, and they're like, that actor didn't really know what was going on, and he didn't take any notes. like there was a point where I guess they told Michael Horse, who plays Hawk, they're like, and you're gonna kick Jean Renault, and the actor looked at him and he's like, if you kick me, I'll beat the shit out of you. Michael Horse was just like, yeah, I'm not gonna kick him. Which I feel like that menace definitely comes across in his character. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe that was just the thing he wore to set that day.
She just went along with it.
Yeah, and then they just outfitted her to match him in some
Like,
way.
this works.
He just brought one for her.
That's-
It's like, you will wear this.
He comes
or
with his
I will
own
beat the
costume
shit out of you.
Ladies.
He's just wearing a T-shirt that says that, or I'll beat the shit out of you.
I legitimately think he just killed those people, and they're like, I guess we got to write it into the script.
Yeah, Emery hasn't been in anything. I don't even know who that guy is.
He's not on IMDb.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He's not even listed in the credits of the show. Just kidding.
No, we're joking.
I really thought he didn't have an IMDb though.
That's, no,
I thought the credits was like he'd be in the credits.
I'm joking.
But yeah, so he kills two people over the course of these episodes. He kills Emery in front of Audrey.
Which, good riddance.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I think the angle is more on Audrey at that
Yeah,
point.
like it's pretty messed
yeah,
up.
it's
Like
pretty-
poor Audrey, yada yada.
Yeah,
but
it's funny too. Kind of in talking about like the shift in season 1 and 2, like Audrey was doing a lot of that legwork in the first season while Donna was saying people's names breathily at James. And now we see that kind of flip. Like it's kind of like Audrey has been a little bit sidelined this season. Just like she's had a few like really great scenes, but she's just stuck at One-Eyed Jacks, and it's a real bummer.
Missing school.
So
much makeup work.
The greatest crime.
Truancy.
But yeah.
Arguably, these teenagers are more capable than any of the adults in Twin Peaks,
True.
so they
True.
don't need
doesn't
high
need it.
school.
True.
They get
Except
so much done.
Donna.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, that's the
Donna.
thing. Like,
Bobby,
Donna makes strides in these episodes.
but then they end up
But then she
right
fucks
where
it
they
up.
began.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's hold on. I want to get back to this. So Audrey experiences some messed up stuff. Cooper finally finds the note that she's left for him when he's going through his yogic disciplines to heal his gunshot wound.
Such a yogi.
One of my favorite lines in this
I'm
episode.
going to stand on my head now.
Yeah, Diane, I am now upside down. Which I don't want to pick apart too much, but that line feels like written by someone who's like, I can't wait till people are quoting my Diane lines. And then he's writing a scene, he's like, Diane, I'm upside down now? I guess that's the best I've got. Like, it's not really, it's so bizarre and weird. Anyways, so he finds a note and then talks to Ben Horn, who's a total asshole about his daughter being missing.
The opposite of Liam Neeson, if you will. Cooper's gotta take the mantle, go rescue the heroin girl.
Yeah, he's waiting for a phone call rather than making the phone call.
I mean, this goes against my earlier thoughts that Cooper was in fact God because he couldn't hear her prayers to him.
That
Prediction denied.
yeah, that's but yeah, I will say, like, one of the phrases that Ben Horn uses in discussing his daughter's disappearance is like, they should bear the cost of their own middleman. What? Is this a merger or a hostage negotiation? Like, what is going on in your mind? But yeah, so he and basically we just have so many people playing off of each other in that it becomes very mill plot-esque, which we also have the mill plot going on. So they're like, it's crazy to keep kind of everything straight on that front in these episodes. But Cooper takes the best bookhouse boy, Sheriff Truman, with him out. Man,
So cute.
the scene at the roadhouse with
So
them
romantic.
Oh man.
when he's like, is he here? And he's like, yes, he is. And just that point that Cooper gives him is no words exchanged, just so beautiful. But yeah, let's talk about them infiltrating One-Eyed Jacks. One of my favorite action set pieces in the show because it features Sheriff Truman punching a man in the nuts, stuffing a ball or a sock into his open mouth, taping his mouth shut, and pushing him through glass doors.
I like how it's like so stealthy until that moment where he just bashes his head
Yeah.
into the door.
Everything is
That's another
calculated
form
to
of
keep him
knocking, you
quiet.
idiot.
And the door's just open, like nothing breaks.
Yeah.
The doors are just like, yeah, we were
Open the
unlocked.
whole
Didn't
time.
even do that.
Yes, it's like one of my favorite. It's like almost an Andy. Like, I'm like, this is what I would imagine Andy might do. But yeah, it's so good. So they break in. Cooper finds Audrey, beats, just punches Blackie's sister right in the stomach.
The
Right in the
stomach.
gut.
I loved that.
So good. She goes to stab him, and he sees it in the mirror, and yeah, just
He's so calm.
I know, yeah.
Is Cooper's
Takes
stealth
the knife.
uniform like a black sweater over a black colored shirt? Did I read that
That's
right?
what it seems like. Yeah, something like that.
Still the pro.
Yeah.
Even it.
always a pro. And then Truman witnesses Jean Reno kill Blackie, pretty backhanded, seduces her, stabs her right in the back, and then
With his Assassin's Creed blade.
oh my gosh, yes, I forgot he has a fucking hidden blade.
But it's kind
He
of
is not
stupid.
comfortable with it.
So
Yeah,
stupid.
he has to move his hands like to a 90-degree angle for it to do
He doesn't
anything.
have the finger missing.
Yes, exactly.
So stupid.
Well, and that's like the thing is, he's like, I'll go to take the briefcase, and then whammo! Like, you're gonna stab his hand, I guess.
Yeah.
Then what?
Yeah, the
Shoot him
range
with
on that
your
thing isn't
gun?
as far as it looks either. It's
No.
like
Well, it's attached to your wrist, so it goes about as far as your hand,
So you could just punch him?
or you could just hold a knife.
Yes.
I don't know, you could,
But
like,
it's badass.
I mean-
and that was another idea of the actor.
you could like
I'm going to use this.
caress
I brought it
someone's
from
face
Yeah.
right through the.
Yeah, that's much. It would have
on,
been. It would have made way more sense if he killed Blackie that way. You
Yeah.
know, just like hand on the side of the face, and then
Hey, baby.
yeah. But I don't know. This guy,
Inefficient.
yeah,
It's all about style for him.
it really is. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So they witness that, and then he sees Truman, shoots a couple shots at him, then disappears.
Batman's the shit out of there.
Yeah, to where he finds Hank, who is now carrying the Attorney General's ID that he stole because he thought he was Empty Wentz, or he didn't, and he just wanted the ID at that point. And the guy doesn't even look at the picture. Like, it's in the frame of the camera. Like, that man's eyes could have seen the picture of the man wearing a cowboy
Oh
hat.
wait, no, you're telling me that he legitimately thinks Hank is like this attorney.
He says his name.
Yeah.
He reads the name off the ID. It's insane. Hank lives in a, like, rules do not apply to him for some reason. He can do whatever he wants. He can carry any ID he wants and assume the identity of anyone.
He's
I guess.
everywhere at once.
And no one
Yeah.
questions why their idea is no longer in their coat
Yeah.
after going to the bathroom.
Gosh.
Oh man, in the fight scene between Hank in the diner.
Yes.
That
How
was
did he
fun.
pay for his meal?
Or get into the courtroom or anything. Like, you got to show ID, right?
He
I mean,
did the
considering
trial
they're-
after that.
The courtroom's in a bar.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a good
True.
point.
Peanuts everywhere.
Yeah, I was like, wouldn't they at least use a public building like the high school or something? Like, not a bar? What?
Maybe they just lost access to that set.
I guess. But yeah, anyways, what a bizarre thing. And then Truman and Cooper are stopped on their way out and saved by Hawk. Because
Which also, he straight up killed that guy.
absolutely.
Like, that's just
100% knife in the
killed him.
back. Yep.
It's Canada.
That's
You
Hawk.
can do anything.
no one was killing anyone,
No,
and
that's
then
just
Hawk
Hawk.
just. And he didn't have to. He could have taken that guy down without killing him. He was behind him and he was silent.
Now, remind me, is this before or after Cooper and Truman? I think it's before Sheriff Truman and Cooper have that conversation in Truman's office where he's like, we went to Canada. I took an oath. And, like, Cooper's, like, really conflicted about it. And Truman's like, I don't know, drink this alcohol. You're, like, the coolest guy I know. And Cooper's like, yeah. He's, like, all behind him.
You think too much about laws and things. Just
Protocols and yada, yada. All I know is I watched my Native American friend throw a knife into someone and I loved it. But yeah, I mean, Hawk is kind of the unseen force in a lot of things too. He's going on excursions to the Pearl Lakes to confirm stuff and all this other
eating
stuff.
tea and crumpets with the old ladies next door or something.
Right.
And accurately referring to Dick as a robot.
Yes. Oh, yeah. That's a great scene where they're going through all the words that prohibited. That's so good. But yeah, so Audrey's back with a lot of knowledge she didn't have before and definitely changed.
Yeah.
The scene, it struck me this time watching it, like the scene where her dad comes and she's in bed and he sits on the bed with her is a really messed up mirror of the last time she saw him when he was in bed with her. Like, it's a very disturbing thing. And yeah, I'll be interested to see kind of how it plays out there. But yeah. Anything else with One-Eyed Jacks that you guys want to talk about or stuff we missed? I mean, I'm sure we missed a bunch, but there's so much.
No, the sheriff takes a shot, doesn't he?
There are
Yes.
shots fired One-Eyed Jacks, and I want to know what the rest of the clientele are thinking.
Someone's
I mean, that
someone's
probably
fetish.
happens probably often, actually, now that I think about it.
I can only
better than a
climax if I
vacuum.
hear gunshots. Okay.
You hear something in the next room, you don't question it. All right.
Yeah.
They're vacuuming again. Gunshots. Yep.
I feel that.
It's all normal at One-Eyed Jacks.
I do want to follow Ben Horn to maybe my least favorite subplot right now, and that's Josie. Like, her, and
I
her,
agree.
Yeah.
this other dude. Like, I don't know. I'm just doesn't interest me.
Yeah. It's weird. And I think also that subplot involves someone we haven't met yet that they just say his name and it never really conveys any weight to me. I'm like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
Mr. Eckert, the accountant. I don't know. It's kind of a bummer.
And Catherine, who's a terrible person, it's like, well, she had Josie pegged. Like, yeah, Josie has been all of the gold digging bad things that we ever thought, and now apparently they don't even need her to get the money that she was trying to fraud out of getting the mill burnt down by. And she has some genuine affection for the sheriff, but I'm like, you know what? Good for the sheriff. She's a bad lady.
Well, yeah, it's like that's the thing is like we know she's bad. We know she's double crossing everybody. I don't like her character. It's like I just want you to be done. I want you to leave.
I mean, she's double crossing bad people, but I'm like, I don't want any of you to win.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is kind of a bummer because they do. I feel like in these episodes too, like her scene with Ben Horn, I actually like
that was actually a good scene.
Yeah, and kind of the revelation that she has also been stockpiling information. You know, this kind of doomsday device or whatever that she can unleash if the need arises. But yeah, there's not a lot of work before that to make me care or that to carry the weight it should. I feel like
I mean, the thing with all the other crappy human beings on this show is there's something quirky about them that makes them fun and entertaining and endearing. Josie doesn't have any of those things.
Yeah, she's I do think she comes off as a little underbaked, like compared to the characters that she's surrounded by.
I mean, it's hard when you've got like just these wild shenanigans happening around her. Like when you write
shenanigans,
when you write something so, I don't know, just someone so kind of like, I don't know, that you could find in another show where everyone else feels very unique and larger than life.
And like she's surrounded by a lot of amazing actors and actresses, and then she to me at least kind of just falls flat when it comes to the acting when compared to everyone else when most people do an incredible job.
Yeah, it's a lot. I feel like it's a lot of missed opportunities with that character because it is such a, like, the setup for that is so intriguing.
Yeah.
And in the very opening shot of the show, they set her up as this. It's such a striking shot that she feels so interesting, and stuff goes on, it just doesn't develop. So, but yeah, so she's going back to Hong Kong, presumably forced by her cousin / assistant / the guy who beats up Hank.
Jonathan,
yes.
That's not his name.
Yeah. I don't know,
Rape
whatever.
her as well? Did that happen? Was that?
Right?
I think it did,
I
right?
think that's implied.
Yeah. I wasn't gonna say it, but
Yeah. Josie, again, it's one of those things that's like, I don't know, just not executed in a way that I feel like there's facets and there's levels to that character that we don't get to see, which kind of bums me out. But yeah, the Tajimura stuff, let's just get that out of the way.
$5 million.
A cashier's check for $5 million. Then he just gives to Josie, right?
Yeah.
You know how checks work?
Well, cashier's check.
Oh, it's a
presumably
cashier's
would.
check.
Yes,
Okay.
that was like the whole thing.
I thought it was addressed directly.
Right. Ben Horn. He just scratches it out, adds one more zero to it, signs it over to Josie.
Well, what I'm confused with, like he, as far as I know, he believes that this, what's his name,
Tajimura. Yeah.
Tajimura guy is like a real person. Like, all right, Ghostwood Estates, but he's already made the deal with the Icelanders.
Right.
So it's like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do when both of these people want to buy your estate?
He kind of talks to, like, that's Leland's moment of clarity, is kind of this like financial wizardry to be like, hey, we'll get money from both these people, throw it in escrow, and then if the need arises, we can also just put it in this other like obscure corner, run a bunch of money through the Caymans. Like, you get the idea from this episode. You're like, holy shit, Leland's a pretty devious dude. I get why the Horn brothers like him.
I have a lot to say about Leland.
Okay,
but
cool.
I'll wait till we get to that.
Yeah,
point.
let's get to that. So everything else with the mill, still insurance fraud going on. The only one of two insurance fraud plot lines in this show at this point with the Leo stuff. But yeah, not a whole lot else I feel like super notable to talk about. I feel like most of the characters who are involved in the mill plot are thankfully also involved in more interesting plot lines, except for Tajimura. Thankfully, thank God. But yeah, so let's kind of get to the Laura Palmer stuff, and let's talk about Laura Palmer and Bob. do we want to start with Leland? Because he kind of factors into that. What did you? Let's just talk about Leland and kind of get into this
Okay.
stuff as we go.
Okay.
So,
So we have, I think it's episode 4 that we watched. That crazy opening shot where it's like coming out of a hole
Yes.
and you hear like all of these crazy sounds. You hear, I'm trying to remember correctly. Like you hear this pretty crazy music. You hear like screaming. You hear
Waldo saying Laura's name.
Yeah.
Like yeah.
It's very jarring, and I thought it was really well done. And then you see it comes out of like the wall or something.
Yeah.
Super well done. And then Leland. Okay, Leland is by far, to me, and he has been for a while, the most like intriguing and interesting character in this show. One, because he's changed so much throughout the show, and he does things that you like would not expect at all. And is his name Ray Wise?
Yeah,
Ray Wise, the man who plays Leland, is just so good. He's an incredible actor. That scene where he's in the police station and he confesses to the murder. Oh, it is so good. It is so well done.
Yeah.
And for like a long time, I've thought like there's more there. Like there is more to Leland that we don't know. And his scene with Ben kind of reaffirmed that for me because it's like Leland works very closely with Ben Horne, the guy who fucking owns One-Eyed Jacks, who is doing all of this terrible stuff. Like he's got to know about some of that or all of it. And you kind of don't think about that. At least I wasn't, because he's Laura Palmer's dad.
He's the victim,
he's grieving, and he's the
yeah.
victim.
For sure.
But then he kind of goes through this change where you see his more devious side, and every single scene where Leland is like singing, one of my favorite scenes.
So good.
But he is just such an interesting character to me, and I think there's going to be a lot more with Leland.
Yeah. I think I'm glad you mentioned the first scene of that episode, because that feels to me like the opening of an episode directed by David Lynch. Like I think that's like one of the closest moments that we get to like where that long shot out of that and like and that performance like is normally something that I feel like we see David Lynch get out of these actors and stuff, and it really is so heartbreaking.
Question.
Yeah.
Do we know, presumably Leland has been told that the person that he killed is not Laura's killer, correct? Has that been like explicitly insinuated or even explicitly said?
That's a good question. I'm trying to remember if they do tell him that, because
there's not an overt positive confirmation, because I think they do say something to the effect of like, we understand where you're at emotionally, but you killed this person who was just a suspect or something. So I think it may have been a smaller implication, but I don't think we overtly right now know that Leland knows that Jacques did not kill his daughter.
Yeah.
I mean, technically we don't know, but like I feel we know from our understanding tonight, we really think Jacques, horrible person, didn't do it, but I don't think they've said that to Leland. Maybe they technically can't count him out yet.
Yeah. So yeah, but they he does reveal to them also, I guess it's prior to that, he comes the day before he's arrested actually, and tells them, he's like, oh, I know who this guy is. Like, I know, he brings the wanted poster in, he says, I know who this is, and tells this story. Just bizarre. Like if you're telling that story to anyone else but Dale Cooper, you're gonna get escorted out of the sheriff's department and be like, just go get some rest. But luckily Dale Cooper's there, who was just game for everything and perceptive on everything. One of my favorite parts of that is he pulls that book of matches out and reenacts. He tells him that Bob, you want to play with fire, little boy, and throws the match perfectly into the ashtray, which is awesome. Like that's a good party trick. Learn how to do that. But yeah, and so we kind of we're starting to get more information about Bob. Like apparently he does exist in a real sense. It's not just necessarily in visions and all of that.
So you did, in what you just said, I don't know for a second. Did you mention that that's the same thing Laura said to James?
I didn't
in the
mention that,
fourth-
but yeah, she does bring that up. Yeah,
She brings up the "Do you want to play with fire, little boy?"
yeah.
He said that she
on
said
the
that
night
in
she died, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Which connecting the dots there with what we find out later about Mike and Bob being these parasitic entities, and also how much we've heard about Laura having kind of this dual nature to herself, I think lends some credence to her being kind of a host to one of these creatures or whatever they may be.
Right.
When she is acting in these outrageous ways, and maybe I don't know that those lines cutting out blurred for her. I don't know how. Obviously, we don't know how that works yet because it hasn't been explained or anything.
Right.
But that was what jumped out to me when he flicked that match and told that thing. It's like, okay,
Yeah. So and before that, so sorry, I need to jump back a little bit. So they do find Ronette has a letter under her fingernail that wasn't there before. Like that's one of the first things Dale Cooper checks for in the pilot. And then Cooper is explaining to Truman, these 4 people are going to create a psychic link that will help us catch Bob. Whatever the hell that means. I have no idea what that means. I'm not fully convinced Cooper knows exactly what that means, but just it's going to happen. And then we get probably Albert's best scene in this entire show. Let's talk about Albert really quick. Because he has one of my favorite... He has just... zinger after zinger in this, like when after they visit Ronette and Cooper finally tells them talks about the giant again, and he's like, any relation to the dwarf? And then just a hard cut out of that scene is just like perfect. And then Albert kind of shooting him down in that meeting and all of that, and then his monologue to Truman, which is
Amazing.
one of the most beautifully written moments in this show, I feel like. And like along with the music too, like it's one of those things that Twin Peaks music just like it
Swells.
just opens you up and puts this weird thing inside of you that you love all of a sudden. Like I don't know, what do you guys think of Albert? Albert's like one of my favorite people.
He's so great.
He's great.
Yeah.
He's great. But also, I just know if I met a human being like that, I would approach him like the sheriff did.
Right.
I would be so... I like people being direct, but also, like, if you're just condescending, like, that is my least favorite type of behavior. I'm like, you can say you're efficient and you tell it how it is, but if you go to the length to say things that are insulting like that, I will punch you in your face.
No, especially if after all that, then they give you this like, it's really because I love you and I'm a better person than you. I'd be like, fuck off.
You're like Helga from Hey Arnold, like all the hate.
That's
when
a
really it's
crazy
just a nice
connection.
little
But
crush.
I'm angry enough at him to agree with you.
I'm always looking in the deepest depths.
I think for me, Albert in tandem with Cooper represent this odd spectrum of the universe in a way. You know what I mean? Like there's this the way that Cooper doesn't shut him down. Like Cooper treats him differently than anyone else does because he knows him. And even at the end of that scene when he's like, Albert's path is a difficult one or whatever he says, you know what I mean? It's like so interesting. But yeah, I love that scene so much. And just, what did he say? I am a naysayer and a hatchet man against violence or whatever. It's like such a good line. Yeah. And I think that I think it's cool to see that character not just spouting lab findings, which is like what he's given through this entire show. He's like, okay, if you're in this scene, it means we're about to find out a bunch of information that's actually pertinent to the case and all that. But yeah, what an interesting way to go. And that's the last time we've seen him. We didn't see him at any other point in these episodes, but pretty great. So then we have Leland comes and tells the Bob story. They hypnotize Dr. Jacoby.
Yeah.
Just textbook FBI work.
Yeah. I don't know if you're allowed to decorate your hotel room or your hospital room in a way that Dr. Jacoby has.
And doesn't he have like a custom script? He's like, this is how I get hypnotized.
And the stone that Harry has to hold in a certain way.
Which it apparently works. It almost works on Harry as well. It's a great moment.
And Jacoby is married?
Yeah, Jacoby's married.
To
Right.
a beautiful woman.
Yeah, absolutely gorgeous.
Gold
Man,
digger.
yeah, fighting way above his belt class. Like the that's interesting. I'm trying to remember. What do you guys remember? Any super important information that we gleaned from that?
What happened was at the end of the scene, they're kind of going through like, all right, what did you see the night you're at the hospital when Jacques was killed or whatever?
Right.
And then I think it ends when he's like, I know that face. I know that person. And then that's when they show up at Leland's house and they're like, you're under arrest.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's kind of talk about that too.
Thank God Leland actually confesses, right? Because, like, is that admissible? Like, we have a hunch because we hypnotized somebody.
We hypnotized a man by talking about golf, and
he was unconscious, but he thinks he remembers this happening because he's in the same hospital.
I just imagine someone back in Washington FBI headquarters just going through Cooper's reports. So you found this Leo guy because he threw rocks at some bottles. You had a dream that told you like all this stuff. You hypnotized a psychiatrist.
well, yeah, and luckily we'll get to talk a little bit about who Dale Cooper reports to, and I'm sure that's exactly how it goes. And they're like, "Sweet, cool, I'm glad you did all this." So
Proud of you, Coop.
but during this, we also have Donna, who has followed up on the Meals on Wheels thing and the phone call she received, and met Harold Smith. Let's get. I just want to take the temperature on Harold Smith. How does everyone feel about Harold Smith?
He is much younger than I was anticipating him being. I thought he was going to be like an
hotter.
old man, but he's just this young, weird guy.
Yeah, an agoraphobic. What's botanist?
Botanist.
Is that what he
Yeah.
calls himself? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we know why he can't go outside?
Is
Is that explicitly stated?
Yeah, I think it's.
If we're introducing vampires into this show, I am so excited. So excited. Aliens, vampires, parasitic spirits. Fuck yeah.
Isn't there a character in the Benchwarmers movie who is
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
Nick
Swartzen's character?
Swartzen's character. I can't believe
Afraid
that's
of the
right on
sun.
the tip of my brain. I can pull it
Yeah,
out
I'm
immediately.
so glad you knew that. But
It's a
I
similar.
assume
It's
it's a
similar-
psychological thing because he implies that he's like, "Oh, she was making me feel like people are okay again. I can go out."
Yeah.
I mean, it's better if it's a vampire, but
I referenced vampire in my summary
I see
because
that,
I
'cause,
liked
like,
it. I
the,
like how he cowered in the sun.
that scene where he puts his hand out and benchwarmers into the light and starts
Yeah.
screaming, very similar to when he goes outside and immediately just melts
Passes
down.
out.
Well, it would have been nice if he would have sparkled because then we would have known. And we'd have been like, Stephanie Meyer, you unoriginal bitch. We can do that anyway. One sec. Stephanie Meyer, you unoriginal bitch.
So I think one of the biggest things we learn, he has Donna finds a diary, Laura Palmer original in his
The
house.
unedited version.
Yeah, which is bizarre. I don't have other people's diaries.
Do you have people read you about their life experience and soul so you can keep a living journal of the
Yeah,
world?
so
you should start.
That was odd to me, and what I kind of thought was he was actually like Laura came to him and he was actually like writing down. He was the one writing her diary.
Right.
Which
Oh, okay.
Is that
Interesting.
is that what was
Donna
happening?
did say she looked at it.
But-
When she
And
looked
saw
at it,
her
she saw
handwriting.
Laura's
Laura's
handwriting.
handwriting.
yeah.
But that's
Alright.
what I thought. But yeah, it was Laura's handwriting.
because that's what he
Yeah.
kind of started to do with Donna, and I was like,
But
oh, I
Laura's diary was different than all the rest. Like it looked different.
True.
It
Right.
was leather.
Yeah.
instead
Which
That's a good
makes me
point.
wonder: are all those like blank ones for future people, or are they ones of like? That's
That he
how many
already-
Meals on Wheels chicks he's like.
Yeah, no, that's a good question.
Consumed.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I also don't know what the fuck a living novel is.
And
Like
what
I
the
don't.
point is.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a pretentious asshole. So
Yeah.
He
like,
is that for sure.
How does he make money? Does he sell those plants? Or is he... Oh, if he's getting my tax dollars for disability because he's scared of the sun, I'm going to be so mad.
Yes, that's the thing you should be most angry about. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Donna pulls the whole like classic person who knows nothing on how to deal with people with mental illnesses and is like, "Oh, this is your problem?
Yep.
Go outside."
Yeah, holy shit. Like it's bad. Like you're like, "Oh, Donna's also a bad person."
I freaking
probably.
hate
Like
Donna.
It's also weird because it seemed like at that point she already wanted to steal the diary, right? She had it.
Yeah.
Who gives a shit anymore?
dumb-
Take it and
That was
go.
the dumbest fucking plan in the entire world.
You're gonna be
All right,
shitty
I'm already
anyway.
in there. but then you're gonna come in and get it while I'm in the other room. It was so.
It's on the same level as Luke Skywalker's plan to Return of the Jedi of like sending all these failures in to like just get arrested by this gangster. And it's stupid.
Okay, talking about this, there's one scene with them where it's Donna and Harold, and they're kind of just like chilling, drinking some wine or something. I don't remember.
Always.
And then Harold's like, would you like to hear some of Laura's fetishes? Some of Laura's deepest, darkest secrets? It seems appropriate.
Then he acts like he didn't know it was, and everybody's like, but then I read it every night
But
or
I
something
read
like that.
it. That's what he's like, that was uncomfortable. I'm sorry. Then why didn't you stop? You could have stopped.
Yeah,
Like,
for sure. Well, and I feel like that like hints at. I don't think he's doing that inadvertently. Like it feels calculated in a way, but it's also weird. Like I don't know. It's such a bizarre thing.
It also kind of works on Donna, and she kind of
for sure
into it.
That's a good point.
I think we've talked about this a little bit. My whole read on Donna is so much of what she does is just because she wants to be like Laura or like understand Laura in a way. And I feel like especially in these episodes, Donna's trying to be more seductive, which I think is what she, the way she thinks of Laura is this. She can get any man to do whatever she wants, essentially. And Donna tries to do that. And she also tells, she does tell Harold a story of her and Laura going to the lake with a bunch of dudes.
14-year-old girls, 20-year-old dudes.
Yeah.
That gets every guy going. Let me tell you.
Which, again, like in a reference to the Secret Diary of Laura Palmer, which is published, that is a story that is from that. And
Interesting.
woof. It's that's a rough read. That whole entire book is extremely rough. But it does paint this much fuller picture of Laura Palmer a little bit, and you kind of get what that is. But
I go back and forth on Laura though. And I think we'll continue to learn more, and I'm interested to read that diary because I don't know. I knew a lot of girls who like they might have matured or at least physically matured a little faster, and then they were getting attention from guys 3-4 years older than them, and they were getting invited to these parties. Therefore, they started doing sexual things and drinking and drugs beforehand. And if Laura had this much power and she was able to kind of put two and two together and use that vindictively, or if she had another spirit possessing her to kind of turn that on even more, like that lake situation. It's terrible. It would have been nicer if they were maybe like 16, 18. I don't know. But it's just a fact of like that doesn't shock me from what we already know from Laura.
Right.
But then I go from, was she just a girl who's excited to be already in this adult world at such a young age? Or is she like straight up screwed up in the brain? And I think the idea of something else possessing her would explain a lot of that.
yeah.
Because I am a little bit torn on what type of things were going wrong in her head.
Yeah. Well, and I think, too, like, the thing I introduced with Donna is I think there's so much more that Donna knew like, prior to this that we don't really see her share with anyone, really, except in really vague, like, Laura was wild. It's like, okay, that's the 17th person we've heard say that today.
But
anyone have any good information? Like,
she didn't seem to know about like some of the cocaine or like the extreme of Laura's like fetishes. Screw it. Her enjoyment of like going off and doing this very dangerous things and very kinky things off in the forest with older men.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious. Like, what did she know?
Right. Yeah. For sure.
I'm starting to hate James a little more too.
Oh my gosh, let's talk about fucking James. First of all, let's get this out of the way. You and I is back with a vengeance every fucking time he looks into any woman's eyes. At least we don't have to hear his voice. I'm fine. The guitar part's not nearly as bad as that just falsetto singing into a garbage can echo ass song. Good Gandhi, I do not like it.
My favorite thing is when Donna confronts him after seeing him and Maddie kiss, and then like pulls the class like, it's nothing happened. You witness things happening, like,
which is a pretty cool shot when you see like Maddie and James like are together and then they come apart and there's just a Donna in the doorway.
Which everyone's just walking into the Palmer's household in that sequence.
This is what I want to talk about. Is so good. Like Maddie's just sitting in her living room and James walks in. He's like, "Sorry, I need to talk to someone." It's like, could you knock?
Well, is the Palmer's door always open? Because like when the police
They're
walk in to
waiting
come
for
get
Laura to
Leland-
just come back.
Well, I think it's open from when James runs out into the street and
Okay.
just
Yeah.
screams his voice out.
After he destroys their lamp for no reason.
Leland Polemarch is like, what?
Yeah. So aggressive.
I'm gonna have to take some money out of the escrow account to pay for that.
I gotta convince Ben Horn to push that money through the Caymans so we get a little kickback.
There is something I wanted to say about James.
Yeah.
Is I think in one of these episodes he mentions his mom briefly, where it's
Yes.
like mom's back and she's trashed or something. I don't.
Yeah.
What does he say?
So he mentions that earlier when he's like, I told you my mom was a writer, but actually she just gets drunk and hangs out with
Yeah.
dudes and disappears and stuff. And that's why like Ed takes care of him, whatever that means. And then he tells Matt, he's like, well, my mom's back in town and I hate her. Like, I don't know. That's
yeah, but like it's just weird to me that we haven't seen that relationship yet.
yeah, for sure.
Which I'm wondering if that's ever going to happen, or and if it does, if it's going to mean anything.
Yeah.
If she's going to be pertinent to the plot.
It is odd for a show that seems to center on a lot of these parental child relationships across the board almost.
Yeah,
that we haven't
and
seen
a show that like doesn't mind introducing new characters
Yeah.
almost every other episode.
Yeah.
Even if they're minor characters. So it's a little odd to me that she's kind of there, but we don't know anything about her.
Yeah, no, I hadn't thought about it like that for sure. That is odd. So yeah, but he chases Donna out into the night. Maddie has a great scene with Leland where she's. It's kind of
Also,
this
where we
interesting
have
thing.
someone just standing there watching, like the transition to them actually standing there after James left the door open.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah. But at least they do
weird.
say your door was open. We're not
that
weirdo
moment.
teens.
But so we didn't knock on the frame or anything like a decent human being.
Yeah.
hello, anyone home? That's a thing.
But also, we're here to arrest you. So how polite do you want us to be?
Thanks for comforting your niece. She's also about to get. She's gonna get the shaft. As James
What?
picks Donna.
That's true. Well, I mean,
Oh.
I think that's.
I think
Not
that
really.
changed
Take your
mind out of the
Gotcha.
gutter.
Sorry.
I actually enjoy. I know you guys all hate those three teenagers. They don't bother me that much. And
I actually
like
like-
the Dawson's Creek of it all.
I
I'm
like
for it.
Maddie.
yeah.
I think
I like Maddie.
those scenes are. I like her character. I like
And
like Cheryl Lee
I
a lot.
did like
too,
James
so.
like
I like her.
enough up until this point. I think. I mean, I still like his character. I think I even like Donna's character a little bit.
It's
As a
gotten much
character.
better this season.
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
She's providing a lot more fun things, at least, even though they're stupid Return of the Jedi plans. They're like call the police once you know where that is. Like
They're just stupid.
Yeah.
And what I hate about like everything that's happened, it's like, yeah, they're finally starting to become interesting characters, and Donna is like changing. But then their plan fails, Maddie leaves, and now they're like, let's just be together again. And I'm scared it's just going to return back to James, Donna.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Wrote
Yeah.
you a song.
So we kind of went over the Leland stuff and Bob. Hawk's running all across the state, checking stuff out, finding out there isn't a guy named there was never a Robertson that lived by them, and all this stuff. And then Donna has concocted a second plan to get the diary, which involves flashing a flashlight out the window when he's distracted, so Maddie can come in and get the diary, which doesn't work, shockingly. And Harold Smith, that monologue is equal parts just absolute trash to me, and it's like almost so bad it might be the best thing I've ever seen when he's like, Laura knew the secret of who killed her, and then runs that garden rake down his face right in front of these young girls. Weird stuff. But yeah, and then James comes in, and does he come into the house?
Yeah.
And like,
burst
Yeah.
in.
yeah,
Grabs him.
he's following
What he's
him.
good at, just going to people's houses.
But he waits like a while to
Yeah.
actually go in there and do
True.
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I would have loved him to come burst the door on his motorcycle, screech in front, and be like, "Get on!"
And he just does a burnout on all the orchids. He's like, "Fuck you!" and just out. That would
in Greece,
James
too.
really would be cool if he did that.
Oh, yeah.
But he didn't, definitely. So yeah, and then they leave. They don't succeed in getting the diary again, and just leave Harold Smith and his. He's probably going to be hungry for a few days because I don't think anyone's going to be running meals on this store.
He's gonna have to eat
It's a
those
bummer.
orchids.
Yeah.
Which, again, she could have just, if you had already pissed him off and you were planning to steal later, why not just take the diary then?
Yeah. Well, because she tries to grab it very feebly, and he ends up with it still.
Right.
He's still whatever. I don't know. So then there's just a couple things that we need to talk about kind of towards the end of this. First of all, Gordon Cole is in this show now, and it's all I want.
Yes.
I just want to shadow Gordon Cole constantly. Those scenes are amazing. That performance is absolutely incredible. Like, there's so many misheard lines. And,
the writing is wonderful.
It's written so perfectly. And one of my favorite lines in the show is just, Cooper, you remind me today of a small Mexican chihuahua.
Chihuahua. Yeah.
And then later Cooper's like, so what was it about that Mexican chihuahua? And then he just goes off on some other tangent.
Right. And I love when he's like, they go into the office for privacy, and just immediately the next shot is the outside of the door, and Truman and Hawk just being like, well. But yeah, he's such a delightful character, and he brings more of the Cooper energy to Twin Peaks. He's like, yeah, you're right, this place is incredible. Like, this is the greatest place on earth. He's like, caught up with the lawmen here, a great bunch. What a delight.
He's talking to the sheriff, and I remember the sheriff says something like, oh, let's go into my office, and he's like, no, I've already eaten, thank you.
Between the 3 FBI agents we've met in this show, it makes me want to go to FBI headquarters.
Just the wacky hijinks that must
Going
be going
to
on behind
FBI
those
today,
doors.
mother.
But so good. He brings some more information. I'm trying to remember exactly what the pertinent information
Yeah,
is.
he rattles off a few things
I
that Albert
wrote
had
it
said.
down. if
Did
you
you?
want me to
What?
read it.
Yeah. What were those?
So the first one from Albert was that he had a vicuna coat. Is that how they say it?
Oh, those were the fibers that you
Vicuna?
found outside.
Yeah, so those were
Cooper's door.
fibers outside
Right.
of Cooper's room. And then the second was there was a weird combination of drugs in Gerard's syringe that they sent in.
Yeah, which we should talk about for sure.
And then the papers found near the bloody towel down the tracks from the crime site were from a diary.
Right. Yeah. So
So
he found more pages to the diary, presumably. But yeah, so he shows up. This is an absolute delight. Luckily, we'll get to see some more Gordon Cole, and it just
He
gets,
expresses
just
some
gets better.
concern, too, for Cooper that he's like, you're a little too involved.
Right? Yeah. He mentions Philadelphia.
Yeah.
You got pretty
hurt
deep in
in
Philadelphia or
Philadelphia.
whatever. Like, yeah. So
And it's
we'll
funny
see
that
what
Lynch didn't direct or write these, so he just was like, yeah, I'm in it.
Yeah. Oh, also, the other thing he does, he brings a message for Cooper, which is the chess move, presumably from Wyndham Earl, whose name I think we've heard mentioned once.
Is he
Or twice
It's
before
not his
this?
old partner, is it?
It is. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's his
Yeah.
old partner. Which is another great scene where
He
he's
does
like,
at one point. He's like, "This wasn't be my first time. My actions got somebody hurt."
right, yeah.
Which
He
is
alludes
a reference
to-
to that, right?
Yeah, so we get some allusions to some past cases possibly that he was involved in and stuff like that. So maybe not quite the Boy Scout we thought he was, which might be why he loves Twin Peaks so much, because no one there is either. So let's talk about the last thing we'll talk about is let's talk about Philip Gerard and Mike, because Philip Gerard comes to sell some shoes like a good salesman, following up on that lead.
Nice.
Good dude.
Trying to upsell, too. And
Yeah,
the sheriff was
yeah.
like, look, we
And
don't have
making
the
a
budget
good
for this.
case. Yeah, he's like, if you got a parade, you're gonna want these guys.
You'll be standing all day. Oh, boy.
Yeah, very good. And then he sees the wanted poster, just immediately triggered, and lets Truman know he needs to take his medication or whatever, and goes into the bathroom. Doesn't get that medication in, and then transforms into who we know as Mike, thus satisfying the third condition of the giant. Without chemicals, he points, because he's now on the hunt for Bob.
So are we implied that those chemicals suppress Mike?
I think that, I think that's what's implied. Yeah. So yeah, and then the next he disappears. No one really thinks twice about it, which Cooper's like, he was here and I didn't know about it, and now he's just gone. He just vanished, and no one thinks it's weird. And then they eventually they do kind of get him back into custody, and bring him in to question him, and basically just withhold his medication from him.
What a scene.
Again, yeah, 4 episodes. Definitely don't look to this for any guide on how to deal with anyone with mental health issues. Definitely consult a professional, and not a professional in the yogic disciplines necessarily. But they do withhold his medication until he's just fine again, and talks in a commanding man's voice
Good
that I
performance there.
envy and love, where he then Cooper gets to do the thing that I do when I watch Twin Peaks, where he mouths and says exactly what the person's saying as they're saying it, because he says the poetry from his dream, and then lets them know that Bob is at the Great Northern, which he describes it in the most like prophesaical way. A wooden house with many rooms, and all the occupants are different night to night. A hotel.
We have a word for that.
Not where he's from.
But yeah, so narrowing the search radius for sure, for Bob, and whatever that means.
But the question is Bob going to look like that, or like his Bob?
No.
Could Bob be
He looks, because they were seeing his like natural form, but only gifted people can see that. So
Yeah.
Bob
Right,
can be
yeah.
anyone.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
so in Ronette's dream or vision or flashback, we see Bob in his true form, we assume, but like Mike, he can
Great film.
shouts to little Bow Wow? Where's that little Romeo? Doesn't matter.
Doesn't.
It really doesn't. Sorry.
I watched that movie a ton as a kid.
Oh, yeah,
I thought it
for
was
sure.
so awesome. But Mike is not who we see him as Gerard. Is
Right,
that the
yeah,
name?
yeah.
And oh boy, I have once that kind of theory came into play where it's like entities possessing bodies.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of have the connections forming in my mind, and it makes me like a little sick to like what I think is gonna like happen.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about that really quick after this. I think the other thing to note is Leland. They have the trial for Leland, and they kind of just let him
with the
go for it,
traveling
right?
judge who is
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
State
we
prosecutor,
could-
I
Yeah.
think.
crazy.
Which again,
Crazy
if we want
man.
to talk about matching Western motifs, apparently to perform law in Washington State, you need to have a little like rope
Bolo
tie,
tie.
bolo tie.
It's
Yeah,
a bolo tie.
even his female law
Sid.
clerk
Yes.
wears a bolo tie and Western shirt.
They stay in the Winnebago together, presumably.
Yeah, does he call it the Winnie ever? Or is
Yes.
my mind
Does
okay?
call it the
I was
Winnie.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if my mind was just filling that in or if that actually happened.
Just small town court. Let's have a brief recess and get ourselves some drinks.
You just can
I'd
sneak
love
up
to
on
have
it.
these in a bar.
Just these weird
Those
frothy like purple
Blue-
drinks.
Yeah.
Just worth
Oh.
noting,
Yeah.
Cooper never drinks. He
No.
like goes, he like picks it up several times
Yeah,
and never
just
takes
sort
a
of
drink.
is like, oh.
Great. Well, yeah. So let's kind of wrap up with some quick predictions. Just like not a whole lot. I don't want a whole lot of like necessary background. I just want a name
Oh,
and who you think might be Laura Palmer's killer.
Can I start?
Yes,
Well, I
I
don't
would
know
love
if
for you
I
to
don't know if
start.
I do want to start, but
I got an idea if you need a sec.
go.
I have something.
Okay,
So
go ahead.
I haven't
Go
I haven't
for it.
mentioned this, but whether or not whoever killed Laura Palmer, I think Laura is behind it. So I think I have an idea that Laura wanted to die, and she's orchestrated this entire thing.
Okay. Interesting.
I like that.
That
That's an
she is
interesting theory.
ultimately the antagonist for all of this.
Okay. I like that.
I like that. That's interesting because in Ronette's dream, we see some flashes of Laura, and she looks devious and
It's
evil.
messed up. Yeah.
So that's interesting. Leland, I think it's Leland.
Okay.
I think it's a really fucked up kind of twist, if that's true.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, all signs point to it to being Leland.
Okay. Cool. Riley, do you have anything? I'm skipping skipping Callie because we know.
I think just because they said he's like been in the Great Northern for 40 years, I'm thinking it's Ben.
Okay.
That he at least had something to
Oh
do
yeah, I
with it,
forget
but
they
don't-
mentioned that. Yeah, Bob's
I'm not confident.
been here for 40 years. Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever that means.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good catch.
Yeah, that's a good pull. Tyler, what do you got?
Well, it makes me wonder then, like, from the information provided, if Bob and Mike have ever inhabited other people.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever. Mike isn't obviously Philip Gerard's main squeeze, but like,
Yeah, he says I've kept this form for like so many years, like keep popping in or whatever.
But
He
yeah,
says
I wonder if
something
Bob is like been into multiple people, and if stuff we have seen certain characters do, we have witnessed, like unknowingly, Bob has been in control of this person at that time.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I don't know that. I just wonder that now as we were talking about it. Yeah, I think Leland's a really good pick. I think that's probably right. I mean, part of me for a second was like, during when they were talking about the murder in the train car at some point previously in the season, or maybe it was the end of last season. I don't know. About Ronette and then he shifted his focus to Laura, and whether he maybe didn't care about Ronette or just didn't know, but she got out. It could have been Ronette. Like it's Bob.
Yeah.
It's Bob controlling Ronette's body.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's an explanation for how she eventually, because
She
there's
survives,
no
yeah.
one left to kill her per se. So
That's
it's
interesting.
like she's
Interesting.
got out.
Okay. Cool. Mitchell.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see if we find out Bob has inhabited multiple people within the town. And now some of the more bizarre behavior I look at as, okay, we know there's this Bob and Mike and maybe someone in Nadine even. Like any of the bizarre behavior, I now wonder how many of these alien spirit things have been floating around, and have they been in multiple people? Because if they're in the Great Northern now, they may not be someone who spent a ton of time in the Great Northern.
True.
But yeah, the implication is the people who we know were not out because, like, even Cooper came to mind, and the Jerry, like those people were not there. So the only characters we know that have spent a lot of time at the Great Northern would be Leland, Ben, Audrey's brother, who also is messed up in the head. So maybe
Haven't
there's
seen him
something
in a
there.
while.
Yeah.
But
Mr.
he's been too
Chujo
small part of the show,
Sami?
so I'd be a little pissed. But
The Catherine disguised as the Asian man.
Tajimur. Could be Tajimur.
Yeah, could be.
I mean,
We don't know how many times she's done this, committed this heinous crime.
I will say, if this would have gone the way Lynch wanted and they just never revealed the killer, I would have been pissed. I'm okay with some lack of resolution and ambiguity. I think a few years ago I really had to learn to start accepting that more in writing and in art. But no, you don't start a pilot like that and then never tell me the answer. I would have found him. Just like I still need to know why Planet of the Apes from 2001 ends the way it does.
No, it's because it's a shit movie. That's all.
Yeah,
That's all it is.
I don't
One
know
day.
what you're expecting.
It's because he was just trying to one up the original film and
Yeah.
did it in the worst
It
way
made no
possible.
sense.
It's bad. Great. Okay. Well, we'll talk more about this for sure. But real quick, we'll just do a lightning round of recommendations of stuff to watch this week. If you've caught up on Twin Peaks and you're really feeling that hankering to push forward, we've got some stuff to bide your time. I'll start this week. I saw a movie this week. I've seen a lot of fun movies this year, movies that I've had a lot of fun seeing, but I haven't really been moved in a huge way until this last week. I went and saw a movie called The Last Black Man in San Francisco, and it is incredibly moving and powerful and weird. I walked out of the theater and I was like, I think I liked that movie, and I literally have not stopped thinking about it. And it's just go see it. If you can go see it in the theater. It's definitely one of those movies that benefits from that. But yeah, that's my recommendation for this week. Do we just want to go this way, Marcus?
Toy Story 4. It's
cool.
it's great. It's so wholesome. It's legitimately and genuinely funny. The animation is incredible. For me, it's my favorite. It's my favorite Toy Story of the series, which I was not expecting at all. It's for me just a very nostalgic movie, and I would recommend it to anybody.
Cool.
It is it's just wonderful. Yeah, go see it.
Good. Callie, do you have anything you've been watching that you loved? Or?
Yeah, hope it's not a revelation to anyone, but Chernobyl is really amazing.
Right,
So,
yeah, that's what I've heard.
There you go.
Yeah, cool.
I saw Child's Play this week, and if you like slashers, it is a movie for you.
Oh, yeah, cool. That's on my radar. I
Slasher
want to
for the
see it. It
modern
looks
age.
It's great.
bizarre and fun in all the right ways. So, cool. Tyler? anything?
Yeah, I don't watch enough, but I'll give a third and final shout out because I finished it. I finished Dororo,
Okay, yes.
and every time, like, I always like go for brief periods of time without watching it, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe I was just really tired and I enjoyed it more than I should, and then I turn it back on and I like watch 4 episodes. And I'm like, man, this is really good, and I shouldn't like this because I don't like anime.
Just a brief
But-
reminder. This is the anime where he's getting limbs from
Yeah,
people he defeats or something.
His father sells his
Sorry, that's
his unborn
extremely dismissive.
his unborn firstborn
Right.
to demons, and is intervened through a lot of different forces, and basically is born without any limbs, eyes, skin, or anything. And basically, this prosthetics man finds him and builds him like a whole new body. And he hunts down demons. For every demon he kills that stole one of his body parts, he gets one back.
That's
and he's
cool.
accompanied by this little kid. And yeah, just that dynamic is really good. It's really beautiful. It's if you like mythology type of stuff, it works really with the hero's journey type of things in unexpected ways in a lot of moments, and in cliche ways at the right moments. Yeah, 8 out of 10.
Okay. Cool.
But also, everyone's seen it, I'm sure, because I'm probably the last person that's able to see it, but I watched Into the Spider-Verse going into it as the biggest doubter in the world. And
Oh,
No, I was the same. When I saw the trailers, I was like, not gonna
I
see
was a
that.
doubter, but I saw it
Same.
late in its theatrical run. But I just felt like there was a point when I was like, oh, everyone should know this is amazing. And so when it popped up on Netflix, I was so excited. But I thought you'd seen it.
No, I had it.
It's
and,
on
like,
Netflix now.
Yeah.
Oh,
Check it out. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't.
Oh, watch it.
Yeah.
Because it is. The animation is. Whoa. It's so. Nothing has captured the fun of a comic book as well as this movie. I will put my money on that. Like, no other comic book movie does comic book as well as this movie does.
Yeah, it's really great. And translating those tropes to screen in a way that everyone's failed at, I feel like, yeah, for sure. That movie's great. Mitchell?
I really like this movie. It has a lot of problems, and if you're a Beatles purist, don't go see it. But if you just want to go see an enjoyable British little love story and you like some music with a really bad Kate McKinnon performance, go see Yesterday.
Okay.
It genuinely is it's a messy little roller coaster, but there are enough moments in it that I really love that I was like, it's worth seeing.
So was it like the romantic comedy part of it work for you better, or
No,
the Beatles
I think the
stuff?
love story is actually underserved. This is the same guy who wrote like Notting Hill, Love Actually,
And About Time, which is
And
a
About Time,
very
yeah.
good romantic
and
comedy.
Lily James is charming as all hell, and she gets a couple really good moments, but overall their relationship dynamic just doesn't quite meet it. The way that they portray like an artist kind of coming up and then what would happen once you kind of go Hollywood, it's a little bit, they miss some things there. And I think if you really love the Beatles, like you might dislike how they do it, but if you just enjoy that music and you want to go have fun with some romance and some music, when he sings Yesterday acoustic, super beautiful moment. Which name of the movie, so I don't think that's a spoiler, but
It's in the trailer.
it is. I don't even remember that, so there you go.
Cool.
But yeah, I think it's a fun watch.
Okay, awesome. And Justin, did you have anything?
I don't.
Okay,
Not
cool.
this week.
That's fine. All right, well, we'll see you next week. We're going to go watch the next 2 episodes of Twin Peaks, and we'll talk about them same time, same place. From the Lodge, I'm Tyler Harris.
Marcus Marinos.
Callie Carlson.
Riley Harris.
Tyler McKinley.
Mitchell Marshall.
Justin Hammer.
And we'll see you later. Bye.
Dude, I saw a man's entire bare ass in the Home Depot parking lot today, and it's kind of scarred me.